On this week's episode of the WNP podcast, we have a legend in the making. Episode 179 of the We're Not Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how are you on this lovely Wednesday night?
Doing swell. Thank you for asking. We just ripped an NFL hot take show. Thought it was a good one. I'm super excited for this college football hot take show. How about you?
I am too, but I'm kind of bummed because I forgot the stay tuned on this one. I was actually going to do it on this one. But the intro came too quick. And also I just realized I wanted to get this show out first, but I already said the other one was 178 and this one was 179. So I just can't do that now.
I mean, you can, and you can make a disclaimer. This is the real 178. The next one's a fake 178.
Maybe I'll just drop both like 15 minutes apart from each other because I wanted this one up before the games tomorrow night. And you know, the NFL one could come after, but maybe I just drop one like tonight and then drop the other tomorrow before the games, or just drop them within like an hour of each other.
Do that. Why not?
Right? Might as well. Today we are doing a little college football hot take and debate. Really excited for this one. We have some fantastic college football games coming up. Thursday, we got Florida versus Utah. We also have a little Nebraska versus Minnesota. And then, of course, I think the game everyone's most looking forward to, I believe it's Sunday night, you got LSU versus Florida State. Both of those teams very well could be vying for a college football playoff position by the end of this year.
Yeah, dude. There's some fun matchups start the year, and obviously that's gonna be a highlighted one. But you know, early on in the season, you know, you're gonna see, you know, if you look at like, we'll say, you know, Michigan, for example, playing East Carolina, you see a lot more of these wider gaps of, you know, kind of the warm up games for some of these teams, but getting LSU and Florida State going week one, starting off hot and heavy, that one's going to be super exciting. So I'm looking really forward to that game. It's going to be, I guess, a Sunday nighttime game as well. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely electric. I mean, you got two, I don't know, I want to say top 5 quarterbacks in that one, but it might be like top 8 because of how stacked the quarterback position is in college football this year. You're going to have some great action coming to you this weekend and for the season going forward. But we got a little hot take and debate. Chase and I are going to be going back and forth on our hot takes. We're going to rate them on spiciness, and then we'll go from there. Maybe a little bit of argument when we disagree, but that's going to be the show. It's going to be super exciting. So, Chase, start us off.
Before I start mine, to kind of ride off of what you said, maybe top 5 quarterbacks, maybe top 8. Well, since I have the Heisman odds up, since that's what my first take involves, they are second and third in Heisman odds, Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis. So
wow,
there you go.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a fun fact, but I will not be talking about either of them in this take here because Michael Penix will be the winner of the Heisman Trophy this season, and I don't think it's going to be, you know, historic like margin, but I think it'll be by a pretty big margin.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
What's that?
I just want to interrupt you real quick. Before you say what his odds are, obviously go on your spiel, whatever you're going to say. But before you say what position he's in, I kind of want to give a guess. But go ahead, continue.
Go for it.
Okay.
No.
Go
for it now.
I'm going to guess he's 6th in the rankings right now.
You're close because him and another are tied for 5th. So you can say one of those is 6th.
Gotcha.
Him and Cade Klubnik are tied for 5th.
Wow. Interesting.
Which I think that's garbage. But anywho, Heisman odds at the moment. I don't know if you have any Heisman related things, but I'll rip off the odds anyway. Caleb Williams, this is according to Betted MGM, sitting at plus 475. Jaden Daniels plus 1,000. Jordan Travis and Quinn Ewers both 1,200. Michael Penix, Cade Klubnik both plus 1,400. And then we have Sam Hartman, Bo Nix, and JJ McCarthy at plus 1,600. So I was kind of surprised to see Michael Penix coming in there as tied for fifth. I thought he was going to be a little bit lower when I made this take, but regardless, to call your shot and say one specific player is going to win this award is still a take, especially when Caleb Williams is still, in college football, because he really is just that dude. But and I'm a big Michael Penix fan. I think I'm not big on the left-handed QBs, but I do think he is an NFL quarterback. I really do. I think he's got everything that I want, at minimum out of a very trustworthy backup. Just very cerebral type guy. Just like, he's just plays the game the right way. He's not someone who rips around on the ground, but he can get in the end zone. He's got what is that, 10 career total rushing touchdowns on the year or on the season. His career, excuse me. So 10 touchdowns in his career, so he can still get in there, add to his touchdown totals a little bit, but he's a really strong passer playing in an offense that likes to throw the ball. I mean, last year he had 554 attempts. I could see him getting north of 600 this year. 31 touchdowns. I could see him, getting to that 35 to 40 range. And the yardage too, I should say. I think he can be a 5,000 yard passer at minimum as well. Like I think his ceiling is limitless this season. I really think he's going to come in, dominate from day one, take Washington to a position where they're going to be legitimate contenders to make the college football playoffs. Maybe they're not going to make it, but like they're gonna have some arguments to be like, yeah, they're a top 5 team at some points in the season. I really think so.
Yeah, and if you listen to the show, you know that I'm a big fan of Joel Klatt, and Joel Klatt personally has Michael Penix as the number 2 quarterback in the nation, only behind Caleb Williams. I like Penix a lot. I don't know if I'm as high as Joel Klatt on Michael Penix, but I think there's a real possibility that he has a chance to be in that Heisman race. I'm going to give it an 8.8. I think normally I would probably give it like a 9.2, because Caleb Williams is just that dude. Obviously, things can happen. That's why I leave a little room. But I'm going to give it a little bit more room because I think the college football committee, or at least the Heisman committee, are idiots. I mean, when you look at guys that go and win the Heisman the year prior, they, for some reason, discount their performance after that. So I think that there's a real chance where Caleb Williams, yet again, the number 1 player in the nation, but someone's close. And if someone's close, they might lean that player rather than Caleb Williams because Caleb Williams won it the year prior. So I think there's a little bit of that going on when it comes to the Heisman voting. So that's why I bring it down a little bit more. But again, starting with an 8.8 spiciness rating, that's up there.
And even if you think that's the case, like at the end of the day, I don't care about technicalities. If he wins the Heisman, and I win money.
Sure. But, like, it's dumb. Not that you winning money, but I feel like when you're looking at the best player in college football, who cares if he's won it 3 years in a row? What if Mahomes didn't win the MVP last year because, he's won it before, let's give it to Jalen Hurts? No, come on.
Maybe they should have.
It's just dumb. But nice one. I like that first take. Let's talk about some absolute legendary play. Chase, I don't know if you remember. Let's go back probably about, 2 years ago. We were sitting in the studio. The studio was first constructed. It was one of our first shows within the studio. We weren't even doing video yet. We were just in the room. And you and I talking a little college football. And I mentioned that the WNP Sports Pod had a little birdie chirping to them, a little source that mentioned there was some player that had a lot of hype coming into camp, and his name was Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, who's this guy? I don't know, but he's been having a fantastic camp. So what do we see from Brock Bowers? We see back-to-back near 1,000-yard seasons. We see 20 touchdowns over his first 2 seasons. The guy's been absolutely electric. So my hot take is that Brock Bowers, after this season, will claim the best tight end career ever in college football history. The current leader when it comes to tight ends is Chase Kaufman, who played for Missouri. He had 247 receptions, 2,659 yards, and 30 touchdowns. Now, I don't think Brock Bowers hits that 247 reception mark, but to get past 2,600 yards, he needs 836. And then to beat the touchdowns, he would only need 11. So I think it's very possible that Brock Bowers can go 836 and 11, which would make him the best overall tight end in college football history when you look at pure numbers.
I thought you were going to say he's going to be like a Heisman finalist or something. Okay, that makes me feel better because I don't think a tight end will ever get there. I don't think that's just something the committee will do. But okay, I can rock with this because in terms of pure talent, like the argument's already there that he probably is. If not, then he at least should be like in the conversation for anybody that talks about it. It's hard to break records regardless of who you are, no matter what you're doing. It's hard to break a record that's set. So it's definitely going to be spicy in that sense. But if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Brock Bowers. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10 just because I don't want to say, oh, yeah, he's going to slam this, but I do have a lot of faith that he can come out of this out of the season as that dude.
Yeah, and I think when you look at his averages across the 2 seasons, he is above 836 on yards, but he is not at the 11 touchdown per game or per season mark. So he definitely needs to improve this year, and I think junior season, it's a perfect way to do it, going to the NFL draft, perfect time. So I think that he does break that mark and becomes the best statistical tight end we've ever seen in college football.
The one thing that might hold him back is if Georgia is really good again, he's not going to see the field in the second half of some games. Like that's what's going to hold him back. So for his sake, and your sake, really, he might hope that they aren't as good as they normally are, so he can play full games.
Very well could be the case. Now, I don't know if you saying that to Georgia fans, they'll necessarily agree that they want to be a little bit worse, but that could be the case indeed.
Yeah, well, no one cares about Georgia fans, though.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Chase, hot take number 2.
So, you look back in history, heading into bowl season, playoff season, you'll see 2, 3, sometimes 4 undefeated teams, even if they're not Power 5. You still see a team like UCF head into bowl season, they went undefeated. Well, this year there's going to be 0 of them. There will not be a single undefeated team heading into bowl season, meaning the number 1 seed going into the college football playoffs will not be an undefeated team. And my basis off of this is if you look at kind of like the top 25, like for based off of like NCAA.com, those teams, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, and LSU are also the 6 teams I would say are probably the most likely to do it. I mean, I see potential losses, like all across the board. I mean, I can see LSU losing here game 1 to Florida State and then potentially winning out. When it comes to Michigan, Ohio State, I wouldn't be that surprised if Ohio State won the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State beat Michigan. When you're looking at Ohio State, same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State beat them. Maybe even Wisconsin or Notre Dame could come in and beat them. Then Bama, Georgia. We can see what happens in that one. Do they play this year, right? Or no, they do not play this year. I apologize.
Unless in the SEC championship.
Yes, so like unless that comes, so like it's very possible in that, but even so, like they do play Texas and they do play A&M, who I am a fan of this year. They have LSU as well. They have Tennessee. Like they've got a tough schedule. Like all these teams, they don't have cupcakes. Like they might have a couple easy games. Like Penn State starts off against, or not starts off, but second week of the season they go against Delaware. Like that's a free win. But other than that, like they've all got very real games this season. Some very strong teams. Like it's hard. It's hard for me to see how any of these teams don't grab at least a loss.
So I'm sorry. Can you state the take again, real quick? The exact take.
No team in the FBS will be undefeated heading into bowl season. That includes the group of 5s.
Right. I think if you're going legitimate spiciness level, when you look at odds and favorites.
If you want me to go to conference championship season, I'll do that as well.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, I just think when you look at odds and all that, it's probably not that spicy because, I mean, what are the odds the team goes completely undefeated? Probably not likely.
Every single year.
But, I mean, Georgia's going to go undefeated again. So.
They're not, as I just said. And teams go undefeated every single year except for I think 2007 was one of those exceptions, and this year will be one of those exceptions as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'll say that's like a eight spiciness level because I think it'll happen again. I think one of the teams, whether it be the representative out of the Big Ten or Georgia, I think one of them is going to be undefeated. And I mean, Georgia's got a pretty easy schedule. So if they can really just ride that wave and allow Carson Beck to get that experience, and then you go into the playoffs and the SEC championship, I think they'll be okay.
I mean, if you want me to go really out of pocket here, I can say that no team gets more than 13 wins. Maybe they don't even hit the 13 win mark because it's a 15 game schedule now. So maybe until no team finishes above 12 wins. That would be
yikes.
That would be something that you don't ever like. I don't know the last time that would have happened.
Look,
that might be more than I want to say, but
I think there is going to be a great amount of parity in the league this year, and I'm really excited to watch. But I think that there's still an obvious number one, and I think there's an obvious 2 and 3. So even though there's a ton of parity, and you never know, a 6 could be a number 2. But I just feel like number 1 stands head and shoulders above the rest, and number 2 and number 3 stand head and shoulders above the ones below them. So I feel like there is still a very good chance that you get an undefeated team. So that's why I'll give it an 8. That's why I'll give it an 8. Pretty spicy, Chase. Pretty spicy. Nice job.
All right. Great.
All right. Here you go. Alabama will finish outside the top 10 for the first time in 16 years. It's been since 2007 that we've seen Alabama finish outside of the top 10, and they have Nick Saban, one of the best coaches of all time, if not the best college football of all time, but I'm not too sure that he's the best college football coach currently. And when I look at the team overall, they've got really good players. They always will, but one of the big things they relied on last year was having absolute studs on both sides of the ball. Will Anderson, Bryce Young. When I look at this team overall, I don't see a guy that just stands out as that absolute stud. Whether we see Jalen Milroe or Tyler Buckner, I'm not super excited about the quarterback options there. So, and I mean, the competition's gotten better. I think LSU is going to be able to take out the likes of Alabama. You could obviously see Tennessee with Joe Milton, if he has a good season, take out the likes of Alabama. So Alabama not finishing in the top 10 this year.
Love it.
Thank you.
Alabama's trash. I agree. But really, like I'm gonna call this one a 4 out of 10. I think it's more likely to happen than not. They've got 6 preseason top 25 teams on their schedule right now. They, as the way it stands, they have number 11 Texas, number 22 Mississippi, number 23 Texas A&M, number 12 Tennessee, number 5 LSU, and where the hell is the other team that I just missed? I don't know. I just missed. Did I? I don't know. Regardless, anywho, I missed somebody. But anywho, they don't have an easy schedule, and I do think LSU is the better team. So I do think they're gonna lose to LSU. I think Texas A&M, Texas, Tennessee, those are all gonna be really tough games for them. I truly believe it. And honestly, scheduling Chattanooga for your second to last game of the year, if I was a voter, that would leave a sour taste in my mouth. Even if you are having a better record, I'd be like, you guys are really adding a cupcake win at the end of the season. I'm gonna vote less for you here. So I think that hurts them more than it helps them, even if they get a win there. And if they get a loss there, they might be unranked, honestly. So I'm all for it. I like this.
Imagine they have 3 losses heading into the game versus Chattanooga, and they drop that one too. If you're at 4 losses and lose to Chattanooga, how do you not drop out of the top 25?
Oh, they would 100%. They wouldn't. I don't think they'd have any votes for the top 25, honestly.
Yeah. So I look, Alabama's been that big dog for a long time, and we've always been hoping that they fall out of that number 1 position. They've done so, and it might keep falling. They might keep falling. I mean, things are not looking great right now with how tough the competition is in the SEC, and they don't have any of those top tier quarterbacks. When was the last time that we saw Alabama without a top tier quarterback? I mean, Mac Jones was fantastic. Bryce Young was fantastic. Tua was fantastic. Jalen Hurts was fantastic. So, at least at the college level, I should say, because some of those guys, not necessarily great at the next level, but
Jalen Hurts, yep.
Right, exactly. Thank you for picking up what I was putting down there. But yeah, I mean, they don't have that quarterback, and when you look at the defensive side of the ball, some really good players, obviously, but I don't think they have a top 5 player in the country when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what happens. Alabama, not in the top 10. All right, Chase, final hot take from you. Let's hear it.
From all the Power 5 schools, we will see 3 true freshmen end up leading the quarterback room in snaps. So that, by default becoming or being the starters for the season. And, to say 3 true freshmen in general, that might be a little bit easier because some smaller schools that stuff does happen, but to have it happen to 3, Power 5 schools, that's where things are, a lot less likely. And the way things currently stand right now, Jaden Rashada, he's already won the job at Arizona State. So there's one that's already got it. He's got it, and I don't think he's losing that. Dante Moore is looking like he's going to be the starter going into game 1, game 2, potentially, those first couple of games. Still a chance that, he might split some snaps, but as of right now, he seems like he is kind of in the spot to win that job. And then number 3 is where it becomes a lot more challenging. But honestly, would I be that shocked if Arch Manning overthrew Quinn Ewers? And it wouldn't be because Quinn Ewers was bad. It'd just be because Arch is too good to not play and you're trying to win football games. I wouldn't. Would I be that surprised if Jackson Arnold is like, I'm that dude. I know Dylan Gabriel's in town, but I'm better. I wouldn't be that surprised either. So I think that we could, see one of these guys, like Arch or Jackson Arnold, or maybe we even see Nico come in and do something. Who knows? I mean, Nico might take the job because Joe Milton doesn't do anything good. There's some there's some what's it called?
Real possibilities that this could
yeah,
happen.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't just think of any word. There's some real possibility that a couple of these guys here can grab these jobs.
Yeah, and with 2 already kind of having that position, how spicy does it get? I think when you look at history and you look how many true freshmen really take over the job in year 1 when it comes to those Power 5 teams, it's probably not as likely. But when you look at the current situation and having 2 guys there already, I wouldn't be shocked, especially with injuries. If injuries come down, which heaven forbid they don't, but if they do, you could see a guy just be thrust into that number 1 position immediately. So I'm gonna give it a 5. I don't think it's out of this world, but I gotta say this recruiting class was really exciting, or at least they look really exciting. So I'm really interested to see what they can do here in a much bigger stage than high school.
Yeah, and this take was a lot more spicy, a couple weeks ago when Dante Moore still hadn't said yeah, I'm that guy or not. So, and Jane Rashad at that point still hadn't won the job either, but for him it was kind of obvious. But it was a lot more spicy then, and I've been sitting on this take for a couple of weeks. So sure, it slowed down a little bit. Maybe it's maybe they're using mustard instead of like mild sauce from B-Dubs, but still it's obviously a long shot for it to happen because they are 18-year-old kids playing in the Power 5.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chase, my final one. I'm kind of between 2, but I think, do I want the more realistic one or the more spicy one?
Spicy.
Gosh, okay. Penn State is going to win the Big Ten. The Penn State Nittany Lions, I mean, they've got a lot of fantastic players this year. And, Ohio State and Michigan, they just don't really have it, if you know what I mean. Is that good?
So I'm going to put it this way. There's definitely going to be a team in football have the Lions associated with the name. It's going to win their division, and it's not going to be the Nittany Lions. I can tell you that for free. That is a 9.9 out of 10 because, even with all these teams dropping games, like Michigan and Ohio State are they're just the better football teams. Like they just are.
I agree, but do you have to be the better football team to win the division? You don't, because I think
You always have to be.
Penn State, to have that chance, to have that opportunity, all you got to have is Ohio State, Michigan, and themselves to split games. And then, depending on how the rest of the season comes out, you could see them head to the championship. And if you see them head to the championship, I don't care who they're playing. When it comes to the Big Ten West, that team's trash. So if they can just make it to the Big Ten championship, I think they have the opportunity. And with how strong Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan are this year, I think there's a real chance. You're a massive fan of Drew Allar. He's the starting quarterback coming into his second year. They have probably the best running back duo in Singleton and Allen. They've got the best offensive lineman in the league with Olu Fashanu. The defense consistently is a good unit under, what's his name? What's his name, Chase? Come on, give it to me.
Head coach?
James Franklin. I think Penn State is primed to take that leap. It's just, can they do it over the likes of Michigan and Ohio State? And I agree at this point, it seems like Ohio State and Michigan are those better teams, and they were the 2 and 3 that I was talking about previously. Georgia, the number 1, head and shoulders above. Ohio State and Michigan, shoulders above the remaining teams. But I think Penn State, they have that potential. They have those stars to be able to go head-to-head. And if they can take out one of Michigan or Ohio State and all 3 teams split, if the odds are in their favor, they could head to the Big Ten championship. And if they do, they're taking out whoever's representing the West. There's no question.
I mean, in reality, like it's an 8.5 for me because like I don't think it's completely impossible. But like I also don't see it happening, and you never know until they get to that dance there. But like their biggest saving grace here, making it likely to happen, is they have a bit of a cupcake schedule. You know, like West Virginia, Delaware, Illinois, 25 Iowa, Northwestern, UMass, 3 Ohio State, Indiana, Maryland, 2 Michigan, Rutgers, Michigan State. So yeah, they've obviously got, you know, a couple tough games in there. But when you're getting Delaware, when you're getting UMass, when you're getting Rutgers, when you're getting Maryland, when you're getting Michigan State, like you've got some cupcakes.
You mean Michigan? I think you accidentally added a state in that one.
Yeah. So that's right. Of course, that's what I meant to say.
Okay, well, what would you have thought was hotter, that one or that the Blitnikoff winner coming out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka?
Oh, God.
Because that's the one that I felt was a little bit more realistic, because I think him and Marvin Harrison both absolutely fantastic, and they could be number 1 and number 2 in Blitnikoff winning. Could Emeka Egbuka edge out Marvin Harrison just in the slightest? I think it's possible. I mean, when you look at their yards last year, it was very close. Touchdowns, Marvin Harrison had a couple more, but I think those are the number 1 and number 2 receivers in the country right now.
If you're taking me the flat out winner, I'd say that's spicier because Marvin Harrison is that dude. And when you're looking across, you know, like around the country, like, you know, a guy like Romeo Dunze, like he's going to get fed the ball. So like he could just win it by default because he might have, you know, 1,700 receiving yards this year. Honestly, like he's just got such a great opportunity. I mean, hell, the way Zachariah Branch looked to start the year off with USC, maybe he ends up with 1,500 yards in wins. I don't know. Like there's a lot of talent and even some like really young talent here at the wide receiver position here in the college football ranks this year. So I would say that's more of a spicy take than Penn State winning the conference.
Yeah, so I was going back looking through Blitnikoff winners, as well as one of my other takes was that we won't see 2 representatives from the same conference in the college football playoffs. I was going back looking through history for both of those. It's only been 2 years since we've seen the favorite not win. So, or you know, vice versa for the other one, being that we do see 2 representatives from the same conference. We've only seen 2 representatives from the same conference over the past 2 years. Prior to that, it was different teams representing. And then over the past 2 years, Jalen Hyatt, Jordan Addison winning the Blitnikoff. But in 2020, Devonta Smith was the favorite coming into that year. And sure enough, he goes out and wins the Blitnikoff. So,
interesting.
You know, thinking about the favorites, Marvin Harrison's probably number 1. I'd have to guess Emeka Egbuka's number 2. So I'd like to say, oh, there's some real competition outside of that. But when you just look at history, the favorites are usually pretty close.
It's interesting. It's good to know. But yeah, I would still say that's more spicy because a lot of it is dependent on the quarterback play there, and like we're still yet to see what Colin McCord's going to really do for Ohio State. Is he talented for sure? Like coming in, we think we think he can he can do it, but like is he going to? Gotta kind of wait and see.
Right. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank you so much for coming out and giving it a listen. We are so excited for college football and the NFL season to start. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on X at WNP Sports Pod. That's, again, on X at WNP Sports Pod. If you're listening on YouTube, if you could please give us a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications. Let us know some of your hottest takes down in the comments below, whether it be NFL or college football. Make sure to let us know. If you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a 5-star rating and a follow. We would absolutely love you for it. Thanks so much for coming out. And as always, we're not professionals.